Watch a child learn to speak. They don't start with grammar books. They don't memorize verb conjugations or study sentence diagrams. They just listen. For months, for years, thousands of hours of voices washing over them, parents, siblings, strangers, television, songs. And then, one day, words start coming out. Imperfect at first. Mama, more, no. But real, understood, theirs. Nobody taught them roles. They absorb patterns. AI learns the same way. When most people imagine how AI works, they picture something like programming. Someone typing rules into a computer. If the user asks about weather, look up the forecast. If they say hello, respond with a greeting. But that's not what happened. That's not how a large language model was built. Nobody sat down and wrote millions of rules for every possible conversation. It would be impossible. Language is too vast, too weird, too contextual. Instead, they did something simpler and stranger. They let it learn the way a child learns, by exposure, by immersion, by reading more words than any human could read in 1,000 lifetimes. Think about how you learned your native language versus how you learned a foreign one. Your native language came through living, through being surrounded by it every waking moment. You didn't study it, you absorbed it. By the time you were 3, you already knew things about grammar that you couldn't explain. You knew "I runned fast" sounded wrong, even if no one had told you why. A foreign language, learned in a classroom, feels different. Rules, drills, flashcards. It works, but it's slower, clunkier. You're translating in your head instead of feeling it in your bones. AI learned like you learned your first language, through immersion. It was bathed in text. Trillions of words, books, articles, conversations, websites, poems, manuals, love letters, arguments. It didn't memorize rules about language. It absorbed what language feels like. Here's something interesting about how both children and AI learn. They need to be wrong. A child says goed instead of went. They're wrong, but beautifully wrong. They've noticed that past tense often means adding ed. They just haven't learned the exceptions yet. AI does something similar. During training, it tries to predict what word comes next. It guesses. It's often wrong. But each wrong guess adjusts something inside. Tiny numerical changes that make the next guess a little more accurate. Millions of guesses, millions of adjustments, not memorizing answers, but slowly, gradually learning the shape of how words connect to other words. Eventually, the child stops saying gut, and the AI starts producing sentences that feel right, not because it knows the rules, but because it's seen so many examples that the patterns are etched into its weights. But here's where the metaphor has limits. A child doesn't just learn language. They learn what words mean. When a toddler learns hot, they learn it while touching something warm, while seeing steam rise, while the parent's voice carries warning. The word connects to sensation, to experience, to memory. AI doesn't have that. It learned that hot often appears near fire and burn and careful. It learned the patterns of how the word is used, but it never touched anything warm. It has no body, no experience, no memory of a burned finger, so it knows how to use the word correctly, but it doesn't know what hot feels like. This is the difference between learning language and understanding the world. AI learned the first. The second remains uniquely, stubbornly human. A child takes about 5 years to become fluent in their first language. 5 years of constant waking exposure. AI did something similar but compressed. It read the equivalent of millions of books, billions of conversations, more text than has ever been read by any human or group of humans. It's not smarter than a child, it's just faster, and it had access to more examples. But the child, at the end of 5 years, understands what rain feels like on their face. The AI, at the end of training, has only ever seen the word rain surrounded by other words. Same method, very different result. Understanding how AI learns changes how you work with it. If it learned through exposure to human text, then it carries the patterns of human text, including our biases, our mistakes, our assumptions. It reflects us, for better and worse. If it learned patterns rather than rules, then it might break in weird ways when you push it outside familiar patterns. It's not reasoning from principles, it's pattern matching at superhuman speed. And if it learned without experience, without body, without lived meaning, then you can't expect it to truly understand. It can use words beautifully, but the meaning behind those words, that's still on you. Somewhere right now, a child is listening to a conversation they don't fully understand. Words are washing over them. Patterns are forming in their brain, connections that will one day become fluency. They don't know they're learning, they're just living. AI learned through its own kind of immersion, not in a world of sounds and touch and faces, but in a world of text. Trillions of words, the accumulated expression of human thought, captured in writing. It learned like a child learns, through exposure, not instruction, through patterns, not rules, through being wrong a million times until something started clicking. The difference is what comes with the learning. The child will grow up to feel the warmth of the sun, to know what a hug means, to understand loneliness and joy from the inside. The AI will only ever know how we wrote about those things. But in that writing, in those patterns, it found something real, a reflection of how we speak, how we think, how we reach for each other through words. It learned like a child, and like a child's learning, what it absorbed came entirely from us. The future's already here, and you get to decide who you are in it. Please subscribe. Please like.
Just be.